And good morning. How are you doing today? It's Dr. Roddenberry coming to you from Chautauqua, New York. I am in upstate New York in an attic broadcasting to you today. How's everybody doing? Go ahead and check in and say hello. How are you doing today? It's good to see everybody. Let's see who we've got going on here. I'm setting up my chat here. Hello, if you're here, go ahead and type in a hello and let me know that you are here today. Good to see everybody. Thanks for coming. So, we finished up chapter 1 yesterday. We are now going to go on to chapter 11 today. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking, Lewis. Hope you're doing well. You're doing good as well. Mariah, thanks for coming today. Thanks for showing up, everybody. It's good to see you. Don't forget, it is Wednesday. Tonight we have the webinar at 7 p.m. So we will be having the webinar tonight at 7 p.m. If you don't want to do the discussion board, you should log in to Microsoft Teams at 7 o'clock, where we'll be talking about gender socialization today. Okay, fantastic. So do we have any questions? Lewis, Maria, anything you want to talk about before we get started today? Excuse me. All right. Maybe not. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat bar. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get started with today's lecture. So today is health and well-being. So that's what we're going to be talking about for the next couple of days. How to live your best life. Psychology is interested in that. And so I've got hopefully some insights that will help you lead a better, more successful, happier life. So let's go ahead and talk about that today, shall we? Now, before we get started, I want to introduce you to my grandmother. Her name is Viola McCrae. And we call her Nana. And she lived, actually, this picture's old. Unfortunately, she's passed on now. But Viola McCrae lived until 102 years old. Here's the best part. She actually lived on her own, drove a car, and took care of herself until she was 101. The most amazing lady that I think I've ever seen in my entire life. And you know, Nana had some great rules for living to 100, right? And so these rules that Nana used for living her great life are kind of the same rules that you, my human, ought to do if you want to live to be a healthy, happy 100-year-old person just like her. Eat your greens, get yourself outside and get some exercise. No smoking, no drinking, none of that other bad stuff. Join yourself a bingo league or go to a prayer meeting if you want. Nana would always tell you that you need to find yourself a sweetie. She would tell you to deal with your problems because you can't run from your troubles, honey. And she always used to say it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile. So keep yourself a good attitude. And Nana preached all these attitudes, and man, she lived the most amazing life. And so what I want you to do is to try to emulate, try to copy Nana and be the same kind of person so that you too can live to a happy, healthy life. You know, although genes are important in how we develop in some of our traits, the most important thing you can do for longevity is engage in proper habits. You would be surprised how important habits and other environmental experiences are in determining the length and quality of your life. So we're going to be talking about improving your life habits today. And if you're interested, I do have a video in this week's course resources folder called Happiness, What Your Mother Didn't Tell You. It's an amazing video by a fellow named Dan Gilbert, who is a positive psychologist who studies happiness experimentally. And he's got some really interesting insights about what it is that makes people happy. So let's go ahead and get started. So this week, the next couple of days, we're talking about well-being. Well-being is more than just your health. Now, living your life is more than about being disease-free. It's about achieving a sense of well-being. Okay, it doesn't matter if you have a lot of years in your life if they're not happy, healthy years. So well-being incorporates the happy and the healthy into the length of your life. What is this thing that well-being that psychologists study? Well-being is in, of course, your physical health and how long you live. But more than that, it's about being happy and having fun. People who have well-being are engaged in life. They like their job. They like their marriage. They're engaged in their home, their local environment. They're engaged with their friends and family. And well-being is represented by those people who are able to find meaning in life, to find a reason to get up every day. You know, Nana worked 40 hours a week until she was 90 years old. And she had plenty of money. And we said, Nana, why exactly do you get up? She's like, well, you know, why do you go to work at this age? And she's like, you know what? It gives me a reason to get up every day. It gives her a little bit of meaning. So what we are interested in as psychologists is we are not interested just in helping you live a longer life, but we want you to live a longer, happier, more productive life. And if you are living all those things, and you are experiencing a sense of well-being, which is what we really want here. Now, what affects our well-being? Well, if you look right underneath me, you'll see that psychologists tend to suggest that well-being and your outcomes as a human being aren't just dependent upon your genes, but they're also dependent upon other factors. What affects our well-being? Well, we of course have our biological factors. Are you a healthy person? Are you a sickly person? Do you get cancer? Do you get this? Do you get that? So there are physical characteristics. Genes do matter. I'm not going to lie to you. But the second thing that matters is psychological factors. Your personality, how you respond to things. Are you open to experience? Are you a person who is generally happy? Do you have some sort of depression? Do you have some sort of anger issues? What are the psychological factors that affect your well-being? And we know along with our genes and our psychological factors, you know, there are social conditions that affect our well-being. You may grow up in a culture that encourages you to overeat or encourages you to eat the wrong food. Or you may be in a culture that encourages alcohol or being sedentary or this or that. And so your social factors affect your well-being. So we're interested in this thing called well-being, which is living your best life, being healthy, happy, and engaged. And what factors affect it? Your genes, of course, your mind, of course, and your culture. Now, who are the psychologists who are interested in well-being? You know, we've been talking about this all semester long, so I'm going to mention it again. The subfields of psychology. There are lots of different subfields, areas of specialization where you can become an expert at psychology. And one of those subfields, one of those areas of expertise, is called health psychology. And a health psychologist is a person who is interested in helping people develop habits that lead to health and well-being. What's a health psychologist going to do? Well, they may help you develop and maintain a diet so that you can lose weight. They may help you overcome psychological issues so that you can quit a problematic behavior like smoking or drinking alcohol or taking drugs. A health psychologist is going to help you learn how to deal with stress, maybe. So health psychologists are interested in helping people in all aspects of living healthier, happier lives that are full of more well-being. What are some of the areas? Well, smoking, alcohol, and drug abuse, how to change behaviors related to those things, how to change unhealthy eating behaviors. Psychologists, maybe your health psychologists are going to be interested in helping you develop and maintain exercise plans for better health. You know, a health psychologist is going to have an opinion about sex practices and how you can remain healthy and still be a sexual human being. And you know what? Health psychologists are also interested in stress as well. So It's an applied field of psychology. That is, they use the knowledge that we've learned in psychology to actually help people in their day-to-day life. And they cover many, many topics related to human behavior and its impact on our health outcomes. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about some healthy behaviors, smoking, exercising, and unhealthy eating behaviors. And then tomorrow, we're going to talk specifically about stress and how we can have a better stress experience in our lives. So today, we're going to talk about some of your other behaviors. We're going to talk about behavioral paths to help. Okay? Now, exercise. I cannot begin to tell you enough how important that it is that you get out and start exercising. We've got some people in the audience. Do any of you exercise regularly every day? I did not from the time I was 20 until I was 45. I was a fat, overeating, drinking too much, kind of bumsky, if you will, for about 25 years of my life. And you know what? I went to the doctor on my 45th birthday for a checkup. He said, Chris, your cholesterol level is through the roof. Your blood sugar is bordering on diabetic. Your blood pressure is high. My friend, you are not doing well. And the doctor wanted to put me on a bunch of medication. He's like, you know what? You need to take this statin, this diabetes medicine, etc., etc. And the doctor wanted to put me on a lot of medication at the age of 45. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Is there another option? And the doctor said, well, yes, there is a plan B, but you're not going to like it. You need to get out and start exercising and lose some weight. I'm looking in the chat bar here, and I noticed that Lewis goes for a run most days. Good for you, Lewis. And you do hit the gym. There you go. I like that, Lewis, because not only are you doing the cardio, but you are also doing the resistance training to the weightlifting, which is going to help your mobility and agility as you get older in life. Now, not only is cardio important, but lifting weights is important too. Now, I don't mean getting big and being one of those beefy weightlifter guys, but just doing enough resistance training every day to challenge those muscles and keep them young and healthy. Okay? Now, why is exercise good? I actually go to the gym every day, Lewis. After 25 years of not ever going to the gym, I go to the gym now about 6 days a week. I run for a half an hour on the treadmill, getting my cardio, and then I'll pick one or two muscle groups to work out for about 15 to 20, 25 minutes. I don't spend more than about 45 minutes. Well, actually, with the shower, I spend an hour at Planet Fitness. I never go for any longer. I'm in and I'm out. But I do try to get the heart rate up for 20 to 25 minutes. And I do try to do some resistance training on one or more parts of my body every day. And just like Lewis, it makes me feel better and keeps me happy and healthy. What is good about this? Well, here's the crazy deal. When I started exercising, I was actually, I was 50 pounds heavier than I am right now. And I started exercising in January. It is definitely the Planet Fitness next to Lowe's Foods, Lewis. You see me there every day of the week, there in Garner. I go every day, usually about 12:30 or 1 o'clock, and I'll stay there for an hour. Next time you see me, Lewis, come over and say hello. I won't be there for the rest of July. I'm working out in upstate New York. But when I come back, I do hope you come up and say hello to me, Lewis. Because I don't know who you are, but I know you. I don't recognize you, but I'm sure you'll recognize me. So next time you see me in the gym, come up and let's talk exercise and weightlifting, okay? There you go. So Lewis has seen me at the gym. And I know he's not lying about being at the gym because he knows exactly what gym I go to. Now, I went to the gym for 6 months. I lost 50 pounds. So I went from 210. Actually, I lost more. I went down from 210 to 155. I lost 55 pounds. It was the most miserable spring I've ever spent. I started in January, and I reached my appropriate weight, 155, by May 1st. And I went back to the doctor, and lo and behold, my cholesterol level had dropped. My blood pressure had dropped. My sugar level had dropped. All of those things that the doctor was going to put me on medicine for had gotten better after 6 months of vigorous daily exercise. Lost a bunch of weight, started eating right, felt really good about myself. Hello, it seems like we have Juliet in here. Juliet, we're just talking about going to Planet Fitness and working out every day and getting ourselves in shape. And Lewis and I are talking about the fact that we go to Planet Fitness there in Garner almost every day to work out. Now, people who exercise are less likely to have cancer. They're in general going to have lower blood pressure. They're going to be less likely to have cardiovascular problems and heart disease. And here's the best part. Exercising is going to let you live longer, which is what we all would like, I think. Not only does it affect your physical, exercising affects your cognitive abilities as well. Regular exercise, especially aerobic exercise, is going to improve your cognitive ability as you get older. Now, one of the things I tell my students in my developmental class is that whether or not you start suffering the cognitive delays, the cognitive effects of aging at 60 or 70 depend upon you. Yes, at some point, your mind's not going to be as sharp as it used to be as a youth. But you can delay these cognitive effects if you engage in an exercise plan that involves lots of aerobic exercise. Run and exercise your body and keep your mind for a little bit longer. Now, why does exercise help? Well, it's one of the things that happens as you die is that your brain's, as you get older, your brain's shrinking as you experience some cell death, and a little bit as your brain dies a little bit as you lose some brain cells. Now, what's going to happen is if you exercise, it's going to prevent that brain volume loss that happens as we get older. More of your brain, more of your intellectual functioning. You're going to have better memory if you engage in exercise. And when we talk about the diseases that affect older people, Parkinson's disease, some of these other early onset dementia diseases, we think that exercise is a protective factor against this. Okay? Now, so here's the deal. When you get exercising and change your life, it's going to make your body happier. Cholesterol, sugar rates, cancer rates go down. It's going to help protect your mind from the normal effects of aging. And here's the other part. When you exercise, you're going to feel better emotionally. I always feel great when I come out of the gym after an hour, okay? Because regular exercise is associated with a better mood and better emotional functioning. Okay, so if you're a regular exerciser, you're going to see that you're going to your dopamine system is going to work better, meaning it's easier for you to reward yourself and become happy when good things happen. You know, if you are suffering from depression or trying to quit some sort of problematic behavior, exercise is going to help the outcomes for that. And as I suggested down here, spending 10 minutes a day, just 10 minutes even, promotes, enhances your mood. So even if you can't get to the gym and work for an hour, if you can go to the gym just a little bit, it is going to help you. Now, I'm a big fan of working out every day. I believe you ought to work out every day. Now, some people say, wow, that's too much to work out, Chris. You don't want to overstress your body. And I would agree with that. I would agree. Don't work out to the extreme every day. But just like when I was a kid, I got up and played every day. Every day I go to the gym and I do something fun. Now, if I'm really feeling good and I want to bust it out, I'll spend an hour and pump really, really heavy weights and push myself. But you know what? Some days I don't feel like it, so I'll just go to the gym and I may even walk on the treadmill or just run for 10 minutes or just do something small. But the deal is, I get my butt in the gym every day of the week to do something. I make it a habit. When you were a kid, you made it a habit to play outside every day and to run around. And then when we grow up, we suddenly give up playing. Do not give up that part of your life. If you can, get into the gym every day and do some kind of exercise. Lewis is the same as me. Look at this, Lewis. We might be blood brothers or something. He also lost a good amount of weight too. Whenever he exercises, it feels good. Most of the time after getting used to something like squats or 75-pound or less bench presses. Exactly. Now Lewis is up there pushing heavy weights and really testing himself. And that's a great thing to do if you can. But you know what? If that's not your personality style, if you don't want to do that, fine. Get your butt in the gym and do whatever it is you can. And the key is you just want to elevate that heart rate for a half an hour every day. And if you can do a little bit of resistance training, lift some sort of weights, even if they're small weights, it will still help you. Okay? I know it is amazing that Lewis lost some weight. And it's cool that I lost some weight. You know, the thing is, when I started doing it, everybody looked and laughed at me. Ha ha ha. Yeah, you're just doing that. Everybody has a plan and everybody's on a diet for a week or two. And you know, this is true. If you're going to try to lose some weight or change your body shape, it is definitely something that requires determination and effort, as Lewis and I both know. But if anybody is interested, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about my weight loss plan that allowed me to change my life's outcomes. So, do that. Now, one of the reasons that I hopped on the exercise program, one of the reasons that most people engage in exercise patterns is because we have too much weight. We need to lose weight. You know, the key to health is eating properly and maintaining a healthy weight. You don't want to weigh too little, but of course you don't want to weigh too much. Cool. Well, all right, Juliet, we need to sit down and have a meeting and talk about that. It's not a miracle cure. It's not a shortcut, but what I'll show you is a behavioral pattern that maybe you can develop that will help you lose weight. Okay. Now, the thing that I use as a general indicator of whether or not I am in my proper weight is this thing called the BMI, the body mass index. And it's a general number that represents the ratio of your height to weight. It is a general measure of healthy weight. Okay. Now, and of course, now it's if you'll look under here, you can go online and there's calculators. You can type in BMI calculator and it'll something will pop up. You put in your weight and your height, and it will give you an estimate as to whether or not your weight is in the healthy range. And if you look at this chart right here below me, what you're going to see are the different characterizations based upon the ratio of height to weight. So we've got underweight, recommended range, orange is overweight, red is obese, and blue is extremely obese. These represent a general relationship between your height and your weight. Now, don't get too hung up on the BMI chart. It's only a general measure of the proper weight, and it doesn't take into account whether or not you're a really muscular person or other things like bone density. So sometimes it's going to maybe give you a number which doesn't quite accurately reflect your level of health, but it's a good general indicator of whether or not you need to get in the gym. If you're somewhere between the yellow and the orange range and you're falling right there between the recommended range and overweight, you're probably okay. The only time I want you to worry based on a BMI number is if you fall in the obese to extreme obese category. Now, I actually have started building up a lot of muscle, and I'm a fairly muscular guy. So, and I've built on some pounds of muscle that make me seem a little bit heavier compared to my height. So if you look at me, my BMI right now is hovering right on the edge of the yellow to orange line. Do I need to lose weight and get back down into the recommended range? Absolutely not. I can look at myself in the mirror and see that the waist is narrow enough so that I don't have to worry. So if your BMI is right there and you were at the 24 and a half range, or your BMI is 26, I wouldn't worry about it. But if you have a BMI of 37 or a BMI of 42, you probably need to lose some weight. You know, obesity is a growing problem in the U.S. Everybody's eating fast food. Nobody's cooking at home now. Everybody's eating fried fast food that includes grease and salt and sugar and all these things that are not good for you. And you know what? This is causing America to blow up. Did you know that obesity rates for U.S. citizens have doubled since 1980? Almost 40% of adult Americans are going to be in the obese category. You know, these rates are even higher for minority women. So if you're a minority woman in my class, you should think about this. Obesity rates for children have increased 400% since 1960. I work on a baseball field during the weekends umpiring baseball games, and I can't tell you how many really overweight 8, 9, and 10-year-olds I see on the ball fields these days. It's terrible. It's terrible. You know, being overweight or obese also predicts health problems as an adult. So all these kids that are really heavy at 9, 10, 11-year-old on the ball field, when they get older, they're going to be more likely to have all of these negative physical outcomes that we associate with obesity. Why? And so what are some of the cultural factors? Now, remember when I talked to you about biology, when I talked to you about this biopsychosocial model, and BMI is a great example of the biopsychosocial model because there are lots of different things that affect our eating habits. Of course, the biology, the genetic factors. Some people are born to be heavier than others. A lot of people eat emotionally. And the thing that I wanted to focus on right now was there are cultural factors that cause people to eat unhealthily, right? Here in the United States, one of the things that they seem to be pushing on us are supersizes. Supersized fries, supersized drinks, supersized everything's a huge portion. We are overeating and we are eating fried, fatty foods. Those things are all cultural factors that affect our weight. You know, when I was a kid, we didn't go to McDonald's very much because it was usual in the American culture in the 70s to cook at home. We did not go out to eat. Now, there were more females not in the workforce, more homemakers, if you will, and it's easier to cook at home when somebody's there to cook, right? You don't have two adults with jobs. But in the 70s, we cooked. We did not go to McDonald's very often, and when we did, there was no such thing as a super large Coke. But now you can't even go into a fast food restaurant without getting a quart of soda, right? And so all of these cultural factors encourage Americans to be overweight. Along with your genes, maybe you were born to be heavy, Psychology, people do eat out of a sense of depression or loneliness or anxiety. But aside from that, I would argue that America's culture encourages us to overeat and be heavy, right? Now, what are some factors that affect BMI? Turns out that people's BMI tends to be correlated to their friends' BMI. So, your friends have negative habits, you will develop these negative habits. If you want to lose some weight and make yourself healthier, maybe you need to find yourself an active or fit friend or two to become to engage in social activities with, right? There are, of course, there's behavioral genetics studies show, and what these twin studies show is that identical twins tend to have more similar BMIs than do fraternal twins, than do regular siblings, than do adopted siblings. So what they find is that the correlation is higher for identical twins than it would be for adoptive siblings living in the same house. This evidence suggests that there is some sort of genetic factor associated in weight, right? Now, one of the things that I did find out when I lost 60 pounds is that people treat you differently when you're overweight. I did not even realize it, okay? I had been heavy since I was probably 21 or 22 and had gotten out of school and started overeating because I was sort of lonely and anxious. And I didn't realize this, but when I lost 60 pounds, 50, 60 pounds, people started treating me a heck of a lot nicer. I didn't do anything different, but people started smiling at me. People were more willing to help me. People went out of their way. And what I found accidentally was that there appeared to be a cultural negativity towards people who are obese. One of the things that you're going to find if you lose weight is it's going to help you fit in a little bit better. It's not right. People shouldn't be treated that way because of their weight, but it is a fact. There are definitely biases in at least the American society against people who are really, really heavy. And you know what? Being accepted is an important part of our mental health. If you are in a place where people aren't nice to you, where you don't get invited to be to social events, when you're not around with other people, that's going to affect your mind as well. And what you're going to find is that obesity is associated with psychological health. People who are over heavy tend to be a little more depressed, anxiety, and they don't feel quite as good about themselves, right? So one of the things that's really important to health psychologists is maintaining an appropriate weight. We do know that your genes impact it, but your mental set and your culture affect it too. It's a huge problem here in the United States, and it really depends. I think that we live in a fat culture that encourages us to engage in behaviors that are unhealthy. And unfortunately, being obese leads to some negative psychological and social outcomes. I'm not trying to fat shame you. I'm not trying to make you feel bad about your weight. However, as honestly as I can tell you that being overweight, being obese is not good for you. So if you can go back to the previous chart and find a way to exercise, it will definitely help you be a happier, more productive human being who experiences more well-being. Now, the crazy thing is at the same time that America is growing obese and we have such a huge number of obese people, we also have the rise of another food-related problem where people restrict their calories too much. Now, even though we overeat and we're encouraged to overeat, when you go on TV, all you see are impossibly thin models and people who are showing off their beautiful bodies. And there is this real focus on physical appearance. I'm not sure about other cultures, but definitely here in America. So there is great pressure to be super duper thin and beautiful. And this social pressure that we are inundated every day in our environment and in our world causes people to start thinking about themselves and their own body image. There's actually a diagnostic disorder that occurs to some people called body dysmorphic disorder. And this disorder is characterized by a compulsive preoccupation with flaws in personal appearance. Some people will think they have a really ugly nose, or their ears are too big, or something's wrong with their skin, or their body isn't shaped properly. Did you know that some people even feel like part of their body doesn't belong to them? And some of these people engage in self-destructive behaviors where they try to take off the body part that they believe doesn't belong to them. This is known as body dysmorphic disorder, BDD, and there are people who have real problems when they look in the mirror. Right? Now, body dysmorphic disorder is different from a diagnostic eating disorder, okay, because the body dysmorphic disorder doesn't necessarily involve any behavioral components. It's just a preoccupation with a flaw in your physical appearance. But there are some people who have such a problem with their self-image, their body image, that it causes them to eat in inappropriate ways. And you folks have probably heard of anorexia nervosa, anorexia bulimia, and you may or may not have heard of binge eating disorder. Now, anorexia nervosa is an eating disorder characterized by an exaggerated fear of weight gain, which leads to an extreme restriction of caloric intake, which then leads to an abnormally low body weight. Colombians are very worried about it is a lot of precision. Right, absolutely, right? Juliet, one of the things that I read about when I was going down to Colombia, they definitely mentioned the importance of dress and looking nice in Colombia and how body image. And I was told, don't wear this, don't wear this. And you're right, there is definitely a preoccupation with looking sharp in the Colombian culture. And yes, definitely the women in that culture did seem to be dressed up and very preoccupied with looking sexy and attractive. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but you're right, Juliet, it definitely was a part of the culture down there. Now, some people are going to engage in calorie restriction. And the crazy thing about a person with anorexia is you can stand with them in front of a mirror where their skin is just sagging. They're so thin. They're nothing but skin and bones. And that person who's anorexic will see nothing but fat in the mirror. And this causes them to engage in this abnormal restriction of calories. Now, it's typically going to occur in adolescence. It typically occurs in females, especially females in high-functioning homes, although it does occur in males as well. And restricting your calories can lead to loss of bone density and even heart problems. For a female, you need a certain level of fat in order to be to get pregnant and to menstruate. So some females with anorexia whose BMI drops too low will actually experience an interruption in their normal menstrual cycles because the body is preventing itself from getting pregnant if it doesn't have enough fat stores to take care of the developing baby. So, how do we treat that? Usually with cognitive behavioral therapy. Remember, I've mentioned CBT a couple of times this semester, and we've talked about behavior and cognition. Basically, these people have to train new habits of thinking into their head to help them engage in eating behavior that is healthy. It's very, very difficult to change people with anorexia, though. Now, another variation on anorexia nervosa is bulimia. These people still have the same exaggerated fear of weight gain, but they'll eat normally sometimes, but the eating comes with feelings of shame and embarrassment, and these people will then immediately binge to get rid of the calories that they ate that they feel bad about. Okay, so they engage in what we would call binge and purge behavior. They'll eat too much, and then they will regurgitate that food. Now, bulimics are more often female than male, and they suggest that 1 to 2% of high school or college age women engage are bulimic. Now, growing up in high school, do any of you, I don't know how many females we have in the lecture, but what kinds of things did you females talk about in the bathrooms or the gym locker rooms that us guys should know about? Was eating healthy and dieting an important part of the conversation to you and your friends in school? Because most of these weight problems for females are going to begin occurring in the teenage years, right after you get sort of the shape changes that are associated with puberty, right? You start getting the fat on the hips and the breasts, and some females are going to interpret that negatively. Rather than being a normal part of the pubertal development, some females are actually worried and rebel against this weight gain and shape change that occurs with puberty, right? Now, some people don't necessarily have body images that affect their eating habits, but some people eat emotionally. I don't know if any of you have ever eaten emotionally. You've been depressed, anxious, nervous, and so you sit down with a tub of ice cream or a bag of potato chips and you eat all of that food without even thinking about it. You may feel so sad and embarrassed about your life, or you might be so depressed that you get up and you go get a second bag of potato chips or eat something else. There are some people who engage in emotional eating in this way and have what we call binge eating disorder. And these people regularly and repeatedly eat more food than is normal during a short period of time. You might sit down and eat 2 bags of potato chips on a Tuesday. Or you might get there one night and eat the whole tub of Haagen-Dazs ice cream. And so these people, some people will engage in sort of these periods of binge eating. Now, these people typically feel really terrible about doing this. This kind of behavior leads to feelings of shame and embarrassment. And these people may do it once or twice a week. And of course, if you're going to down these kind of calories, it's going to lead to excessive weight gain. And you know, the crazy thing is, this is not as likely in females as it is in men and minorities. So while anorexia and nervosa and bulimia are going to be things that you'll typically see more in the females, the excessive weight, calorie restriction, and the attempt to get rid of extra calories that are associated with nervosa and bulimia are what you're going to see in females, but you're going to be more likely to see the binge eating behavior in males. All right. Now, and this probably feels like 4th grade health class, and yes, it sort of is. But you know what? That's what behavioral psychologists are interested in. We're interested in promoting these healthy behaviors. Did you know they say that 1 in 5 Americans report smoking? Along with all of my other terrible behaviors, I started smoking daily when I was 16, and by the time I was 21, I was smoking 2 packs a day. I smoked 2 packs a day until I was 32 years old. I was one of the 1 in 5 Americans that reported smoking, and it was a terrible, terrible habit for me because it affected my level of oxygen, which then prevented me from getting in the gym and exercising, which has compounded my weight problems. They say that smoking can be blamed for 480,000 deaths a year in the U.S. alone, 5.4 million deaths a year worldwide. It does decrease the average lifespan by about 12 years, and it is associated with increased rates of heart disease, respiratory ailments, and some types of cancer. Interesting story. After I got super duper healthy and was feeling great about myself, I was struck with cancer. I developed throat cancer. It was diagnosed Christmas of 2020. I had had a sore throat for about 3 months that I didn't deal with. I went to the doctor, the ENT, and said, "Doc, I've had this sore throat for 3 months." He took a scope, stuck it in my nose, took one look at the back of my throat and said, "I hate to tell you this, but you, my friend, have throat cancer." Now, there are two kinds of throat cancer. It turns out I didn't realize this. There's throat cancer that's caused by cigarettes, and then there's throat cancer that's caused by this virus that many people have. And they were pretty sure that I had the virus-related throat cancer. And the outcomes for that type of cancer are pretty good, 85% survival rate. However, the throat cancer that's associated with smoking is much more difficult to cure. Now, I had quit smoking when I was 30. My oldest son picked up one of my cigarettes when he was 3 and stuck it in his mouth to model my smoking behavior, and that's the day I quit smoking, right? But I quit smoking at the age of 32, I think it was, and I developed cancer on my 50th birthday, 18 years later. I had quit smoking for 18 years. And when I went to all the doctors didn't ask me about my weight. They didn't ask me about my alcohol intake. They didn't ask me about drug intake. But the one thing that the doctors kept asking me about was my smoking behavior. And even though I'd been quit for 20 years, the one thing that scared the doctors the most, the one thing that they wanted to talk about, was my smoking behavior. Your smoking behavior is the single worst thing that you can do for your health. It's going to increase all kinds of ailments that you might have. And in my case, if my smoking had been caused by, my cancer had been caused by smoking, I probably wouldn't be here with you today. Now, the crazy thing is, oh my goodness, what was I going to say? Smoking causes cancer. Oh, actually, and because I was a smoker, they gave me an extra week of chemotherapy and 1 extra week of radiation therapy, which, let me tell you, was not a happy thing. And so, really, if you're smoking, and I don't know if any of you are smoking or vaping right now, but if you can, please, please, please find a way to cease these particular behaviors. Most of us, like most smokers like me, learned how to smoke in adolescence. I smoked cigarettes as a teenager to fit in with my buddies, right? And I was one of the half of all smokers that persisted into adulthood. Now, 1/3 of all smokers will die because of smoking. Cancer, emphysema, other sort of heart or lung-related disorders can be caused by cancer. So 1/3 of all of you who smoke regularly are going to be killed by the cigarettes that you smoke. Now, the cool thing is, the good news is adolescent smoking has decreased by half since 1990. When I was in high school, everybody smoked. And if you went out to one of those high school parties on a Friday or Saturday night, it was sure somebody was going to offer you a cigarette, and you needed to smoke it in order to fit in. If you didn't smoke, you were kind of the nerd, and people would make fun of you, right? Fortunately, though, that behavior is not as common in today's high schools, and it suggests that smoking rates in high school have been cut in half since 1990. Now, where did I learn to smoke? I learned from my friends, and I learned from my parents. I hate to say this, the statute of limits has expired, so you can't throw my parents in jail. But when I was 7 years old, my mom and dad, who were both smokers, thought it would be funny to let me take a puff off of a cigarette. And so I actually took a puff off my first cigarette from my dad when I was 7 years of age. And the fact that my parents smoked made it much more likely that I was going to become a smoker too. Now, my boys who are in their early 20s, developed the vaping habit. They didn't smoke cigarettes because smoking is kind of taboo in high school, but they did engage in nicotine injection. And I'll bet some of you sitting in my audience right now, are vapors. E-smoking is now more popular, but the jury is still out on how this compares to cigarette smoking, right? Now, if you want to quit smoking, you can go get Chantix or one of those patches to try and help you wean yourself off of alcohol. But you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. The way you quit smoking is the way I quit smoking. You throw your cigarettes in the garbage and you just quit cold turkey. And most everybody who is able to quit is going to quit cold turkey. What I found in talking to people who use Chantix or the patch is that in their mind, they really don't sound like they're done with smoking. When you're done with smoking, you're just done with smoking. But people who are trying to quit and still haven't get it up, they'll be doing the patch and smoking a cigarette at the same time. Really, if you want to quit, you've got to go ahead and just quit cold turkey. All right. So this is the lecture part of the week where I tell you not to smoke, not to eat too much, and to get to the gym. Yes, I'm just like your parents lecturing you and telling you what to do. But I'm serious. These things are really, really important. When I was 20 like you, I didn't care as much about behaviors because I thought that I was going to live forever. But let me tell you, as a man in my early 50s, me and all of my friends are suffering the negative effects of these behaviors that we shouldn't be doing. Those of us who are too heavy, those of us who are smoking and taking drugs. I promise you, these behavioral patterns can really impact your level of well-being as you get older. Now, tomorrow we're going to spend our class period talking about stress and how you can protect yourself from the negative effects of stress. So that's what tomorrow's lecture is. But today I just want you to think about some of those behaviors you do and maybe make a pact with yourself, make an agreement that you are going to get to the gym, you're going to try to eat healthier, and you're going to try to quit some of those self-destructive behaviors that you are engaging in. If nobody has any questions, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. I do hope you come to see me tonight so we can talk about gender role socialization in childhood, how we teach teach children to be either boys or girls. All right, y'all have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you tonight or tomorrow in class. Take care. Bye.